Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you, ma'am?
I'm wonderful. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to be here with our friends and especially with yourself. And
Yeah. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I always do. It's my weekend. I only got one, so I make the best of it.
You make the best of it.
I do. Yeah.
That's good.
One a week. One a week.
That's good.
Um,
Mine's a
but
little hectic, but it brought itself together.
good deal. Good deal.
Hmm.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Um, I have to brag a little bit. I did get a chance to go wine tasting,
Ah,
and that was super fun. So hopefully I'll get to do that again. And
okay. Where did you go?
I went down to Temecula.
Oh, I like Temecula.
Yeah, it's becoming a very good place to drink wine, and I have a
Yeah.
friend that has a couple of memberships down there. So I went down there to hang out
Okay.
with them, so that was cool. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, let's get started.
All
I,
right.
of course, am excited to talk about this this topic. It's actually the zero cost plan, which, to be quite honest with you, they don't exist. But we want to talk a little bit about them. We've got three main points to cover. What the cost, what zero cost really means, and
Okay.
who it affects, and then also what you can do about it. So, without further ado, I'm going to, I'm not prepared, so I'm going to search for your bio and then I'm going to read the bio. So,
Okay.
how about that?
All righty.
Hold on just a moment. You have those days where you think you're prepared. All right. So, everyone, please help me welcome my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's also the co host of another uh, online radio show called The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. And hope
Yes,
everyone out there is wonderful as well for another riveting conversation about retirement.
it is. It promises to be that, my friend. It promises to be that indeed. So let's jump right into it. The 3 points that I really want to make is number one. Well, first of all, let's re reevaluate what we're talking about. Often, when I speak with plan sponsors or people that actually run retirement plans, they could be HR consultants, they could be owners of businesses. These are the folks that are responsible for actually running the plan.
Hmm.
Um, they let me know that their plan is free, that it costs nothing. And I just want to point out that um, in general, nobody works for free. So I just, before we go into it, has anybody ever said anything like that to you, like that the plan is free, or when you were uh, working with folks?
No, obviously, because when I was working in this finance world, I worked at a financial planning firm, so nothing was free in that world. So they didn't pay the financial planners directly, but they
Uh-huh.
did pay them.
They did pay. It's a that's a great lead in because that's one of the points you want to make. The first is that sometimes there are hidden costs. That's number one. Sometimes there are hidden costs. Number two, sometimes those costs are just shifted to participants, and I got to add that's generally what it is. And then number three is how do you protect yourself when you're in that situation? So let's
Right.
get into number one. That is. Zero cost means actually hidden cost, which means that either your expense ratios are a little high,
Hmm.
or maybe there's some revenue sharing going on between uh, the fund and
Hmm.
the record keeper, right? 'Cause, we have all kinds of fund managers out there, and they run
Right.
various different folks. Record keeper, the record keeper, are the folks that send you the statements. The funds are the things you invest in. So sometimes there's a deal that you may not know of, Or sometimes the cost is reduced because you're in proprietary funds. So, like, let's say you have a particular record keeper, like a large insurance company or investment house, and you're using their funds. That's not a bad thing at all. I definitely don't want to suggest that you never do that because sometimes those funds are good. Sometimes those funds are excellent. And often they are excellent. And it's really good to have diversity in your plan. So I don't want to say that you never want to go into proprietary funds because fees are hidden in there. I don't want to say that at all. It's not
Mm-hmm.
true. But I
Mm-hmm.
do want to say that sometimes that's kind of the combination when we're talking about zero cost, right? So
Mm.
you have to be you have to be mindful of what it is that you're paying for. And sometimes they have what we call sub TA funds. Have you ever heard of a sub TA fund?
No, I haven't.
It's a situation where the fund the mutual fund that you happen to be investing in, sometimes they have an arrangement uh, with the record keeper, the big
Mm.
insurance house, to offset some fees by doing some work themselves or bringing in a third party administrator. So the fees may not be charged to the participant or to the fund, but the third party administrator who you're actually paying, they might have the fee. Right? So,
Okay.
um, like you said before when we started this at the top of the hour, nothing's for free.
Mm-mm.
Nothing's for free. Right? Okay,
And
so
then,
that's
even when I do business coaching and we tell our clients that as well, some people say, oh, the coaching is free because, you can go to an organization and get it. Well, actually, it's not necessarily free. In our case, is your taxes are paying for it. You've paid for it.
yes, yes,
There's
you're
an
paying. Yeah,
indirect way of paying for
yes,
it, but you paid for it.
exactly, exactly.
So same thing, right? It's just
Yeah,
indirectly.
indirectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the number one is that the cost may be hidden. The second one, of course, is the cost are shifted to participants. So if you ever talk to someone and they said, "Oh, Bill has this amount of expense for his fund, and but my expense is this amount," has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, but yeah, but
Yeah,
again, nothing's created equal, right? Is
right.
We don't know what Bill's, you don't know what is in his plan. You don't know what's going on in his plan. May not be your plan.
hmm That's a really good point. You don't know what's going on in that plan. You don't know the deal, but there's a very good chance that if the plan sponsor is saying that the plan is free, that actually means that the participants are bearing the cost.
Mm,
Right? So it doesn't mean
okay.
that it's free. It's just that the participants pick up. And now, when I sold plans for large companies, we would just say to the plan sponsor, "Look, here's the deal. You're at that level of assets where it's conceivable that you can shift this cost to the participants. That is reducing your cost as a plan sponsor, but of course,
Mm-hmm.
then the participants are paying." And usually depending on the number of assets in the plan, the more fees they pay, right? So
Okay.
from the plan sponsor point of view, it's a quote unquote free plan because they're not paying, but the participants are, right?
Okay.
And, if you've got 1,000 people in your company and each of you is paying for the plan, you're paying for the privilege to invest. I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, you've got enough people to spread that cost around. So that's
Right.
not necessarily a bad thing, right?
No.
But it's free to the plan sponsor, it's just not free to the
To the
participants. And then,
participant.
of course, the last one is okay, we know that sometimes those costs are going to be hidden by, like we said before, higher expense ratio or some type of revenue sharing or some type of arrangement by the third party administrator to the plan or to the fund company, mostly to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that's number one. And then number two, sometimes those costs slash fees are shuttled to the participants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the last one is okay, let's say you've got one of those situations going. Let's say you're one of those plan sponsors that says, hey, if you're going to invest in a retirement plan, you should pay for it, right? Fair, fair enough. You
Mm-hmm.
got to pay for everything. What can that plan sponsor do? And this is where it becomes really important for those folks that are um, human resources consultants, plan sponsors, where they really want to pay attention because the plan sponsor still has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of the participants.
Mm.
So you can imagine what that means. Number one, they need to make sure they're benchmarking the plan. Number two, they need to make sure they have appropriate documentation. And then number three, they want to make sure they explain that fee structure to their participants and that they know the fee structure because the Department of Labor doesn't say that the plan sponsor has to pay for the plan. It just says that the plan sponsor has to act in the best interest of the participants.
Mm.
So if that means making sure that the participants don't have a high fee, you need to document that.
Right,
That
right.
means making sure the participants are paying um, an equal amount if that's what you want to do. Like let's say you've decided somehow you've come up with this is what the plan costs. Boom. And the participants are going to take an equal share of that. If that's what you've decided, then that's fine. There's no
Mm-hmm.
problem with that. You just have to document that's what you're doing. And that's where we see most of the issues happen. It's not
Mm.
because of the cost of the plan necessarily, and it's not because of the fees that are being charged. It's because the documentation isn't there. You got to document. One of my
Yeah.
bosses used to say to me when I was in another industry, if it ain't there, it ain't there.
And I tell you, business owners have a major issue with documentation. They don't like documentation for anything. So,
It's true, and I get it. I'm a business owner, and I'm running. Running. And the last thing I need, it is something that I have to do. I have to document, and I have to make myself document because if I don't, uh, a day or two will go by, and I'll think to myself, "What was that? Where'd that come from? Where'd that go?" Yeah. So yeah, you got to write it down. You got to have the documentation. So um,
yeah, it's important in documentation, but um, and I would imagine there has to be, like you say, if it's a large company, and obviously 401ks have to be set up. Technically the owner is setting it up to provide for his retirement, but he just can't do himself. He has to make sure that it's out there for all of his employees, right? And that the
in
the,
general, yeah,
the general crux of the whole thing.
sure.
So at the same time, if he's benefiting at some sort because he has 150 employees and they're all investing in it, but he's still providing a retirement plan for his employees. So, generally in life, there is always a give and take.
You're absolutely right, and I'm glad you brought that up because even though the owner of the plan uh, may have taken the cost of the plan and put that on the backs of the participants,
Mm-hmm.
often that owner is a participant, so he's paying too. It's not like
Yeah.
he's getting the plan for free and everybody else is paying. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Great point that you brought there. If the owner may decide, hey, there's 200 of us here. Why don't we all share in the cost of this plan and then make sure that those costs are reasonable?
Right.
No problem with that. You just got to make sure you document that and make sure that you benchmark that plan on a regular basis and make sure that your costs are in line with what's appropriate for your organization. And again, I got to say, that doesn't mean that you have to have the least expensive plan.
Right.
Right? That doesn't mean that at all. There's all kinds of, I like to use the example that there's all kinds of cars on the road. The cheapest one is not always the best one.
True that.
There you go. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. Did you have any final comments?
No, except for the other day I was talking to, and this is on a side note, but a young man, I was talking to some of my colleagues in one of my contract that I'm doing for the Youth Entrepreneur Program. And so I was telling them the week before they had scheduled an appointment, a meeting time right in our time. And I was like, no, can't do that because that's my podcast time. I said, while we're on it, I have two other dates, time frames that you can't schedule meetings in either because they take precedence. They've been around longer than you guys have been. And so they're like, okay, but what are these? And so I was telling them. So one young man said, oh, I love podcasting. He says, the other two, obviously one's community, one's business. And then he says, but I'm kind of young for retirement. I said, no, you're not. You the one should be watching.
Great point. Great point. Great
These
point.
others over here, if they haven't figured it out by now,
Yeah.
they're like 2 minutes away from retirement. You got a ways to go, and that gives you a lot of opportunity and choice.
Yeah, that's probably something that we should talk about um, on a maybe next time we get together, and that is this mentality that folks have with regard to retirement, in that they have this idea, and not without ground. I don't think it comes from nowhere, but they have this idea that they'll be taken care of when they retire, right?
Yeah,
Um, and um, and that they can retire, they can worry about that when they get there. And as you so eloquently pointed out to this gentleman, that is just not the case. It really is not. Uh, there is no rainbow at the end that's going to magically appear to take care of you when you retire. You do
right.
need to prepare for that when you're young. And when we talk about generational poverty, I think retirement is one of those big rocks there. So
Yeah,
we should probably do we should probably do a podcast on uh, what that means to young people,
yeah,
what that means to parents, what that means to people that are struggling with generational poverty, and also for folks that are trying to hold on to generational wealth inside their family.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll bring some guest folks on the show and talk about that. I've got some.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. Because there's people that started late. There's people that started very early. Some people were very cognizant of it when they first started working for someone. And retirement, like say, my brother-in-law, retirement was always on his radar. I think when he first started, it was on his radar. He was 19 and
Mhm.
he was counting down the days to retirement. And so when that time came, he was very much ready. But then
Yeah.
there are others, I have several friends that, um, during the 2008 crash, they lost, you know, one lady, one friend of mine's, colleague of mine, actually lost 70% of her retirement plan. Um, and some, disaster because some
Hmm.
plans, other plans had been put in place, such as her husband wanted to live 6 months in on another continent, and um, and so the way they had planned out their retirement, or collectively, it was possible for him to do that. Well, when that happened, that was no longer a possibility. And she literally had to go back to, she had to not go back to work, she had to work. And so she created a business, and she was able to recoup what she had lost. But some people didn't have her skill sets to be able to jump into her own business and be able to get compensated pretty much on the same level she was compensated when she was working. So therefore, now the money that was going into her retirement, it didn't take. I think it took her about 4 years to really get it back to 3.5, 4 years to get it back to where it was.
You're knocking on the door of a very, very important subject. It's not something that's germane to what we're talking about right here today, but we definitely want to do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely connect with you and make sure we get those topics out, and maybe we can get
Uh-huh.
some questions from audience and decide how to rank those, because you're talking about quite a few different themes. Number one, how do you handle market ups and downs? Number two, how do you plan for retirement? And like we talked about a while ago, how much is enough money and how do you figure that out? And then I think lastly, whose responsibility is it to plan for your retirement?
Right.
Right. So I think those are great topics that we should tackle. And I think I'm gratified that you said that because a lot of those can start with the conversation about how you manage your 401k plan
Mm-hmm.
and also how you as an employer manage that 401k plan so that in that sphere of retirement, how
Mm-hmm.
does it work best for your business? If
Right.
you're an HR consultant, how do you advise your plan sponsor on what to do so that you can get people through retirement without actually um, or and hit those retirement goals so they can actually feel good about working for you because they know that if they put the money in the plan, it's going to grow. That's one piece. Let's call it a four-legged stool of your retirement income. That's one
Right.
piece that's working well, and we can take some comfort from there, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we know how to manage it. So, without being the ring around the rosy, beating around the bush kind of thing, I definitely want to take that, put that on another show, and then we can put that together as to how we want to tackle that because that's definitely a section that we should do as a series of plans or of shows, and we can name it that and make that happen.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to read your bio one more time, and then I'll give you the last word. How's that?
All right. Sounds good.
So, hey everybody, thank you for joining Crystal and myself on the patio. I'm Jevon Thomas with Retirement Plan Consultants. I'm a licensed retirement plan advisor, and my friend Crystal is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's a co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. It's another weekly online radio show. Actually, she's the co-host of uh, the Business Zone. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Crystal, any last words on the free retirement plan?
I think one, understanding all of the nuances of your plan is really important. So I'm going to challenge everyone for 2026. We're at the very beginning of the year, is to make sure that you are on top of the things that are can greatly affect your future. And the times we're living in right now requires us not to be ostriches and our head down in the sand. It is the time for us to do our research and to really understand, what our needs are, current, your present, your future plans. And so I think we just all have to make a conscious effort to achieve what you want. Then it requires some knowledge and some information. So just don't let things happen. Ask questions.
Good. That's awesome. I can't agree more. And as for the free retirement plan, yeah, that's just not the way it works. That's
Right,
just
exactly. Again, knowing all that you need to know.
well. We'll see you folks next time on the patio with Crystal and Javon. Have a great week. Talk to you next week.
Bye bye, everyone.